Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another edition of the Spurs Chat podcast, where in this edition we'll be discussing everything Tottenham Hotspur and, of course, the summer transfer window. At the moment, Tottenham are in talks with Wolfsburg about signing centre-back Micky Van de Ven. Reports are stating that Tottenham are still working on the Tapsoba deal. Spurs are about to sign a striker from Argentina. Galatasaray are interested in Ndomble. Also, another talking point this evening, will Harry Kane still be a Spurs player when we kick off our Premier League campaign away at Brentford in just 10 days' time? And Ange Postecoglou's press conference, arranged for Friday, has been cancelled because there is not enough media interest. Now, to discuss all of these points and many more, I have three fabulous guests as normal. I've got channel regular Craig Dearman back with us, and we are only doing this podcast because Craig could not wait to get back on air and discuss everything Tottenham Hotspur. Craig, how are you?
I'm all right, Chris, and great to see you back safely from your travels around the world. Yeah, it just seems like it's been too long, because I was scheduled to be on for the Leicester game, and of course that we all know what happened there. And there's so much going on at the club at the moment. It was I've been speaking to Gareth, been speaking to Melvin, been speaking to you, Chris, been speaking to Gary, and it just you feel like you need to vent, to have a chat about it, and it just feels like it's been far too long. Towards the end of the season, I'm sure we was all getting fed up with talking about it and needed the break from it. But now the season's almost upon us, so you just feel like you want to get back to it. And I apologise about the very scruffy look, but I've said I'm not going to shave till Spurs sign a centre back, so expect it to look like Father Christmas.
We've also got channel regular Melvin back with us all the way from Malta. Melvin, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm excited to see Spurs play again. It seems like it's been forever, and I can't wait for the next game. It's exciting times. It's a bit dreary, this transfer window, but it started well, and I'm sure it's going to heat up, in the next couple of weeks. And it's the regular free therapy session. Like I think that's what Craig was looking forward to. I think, it's good to get things off your chest and just see what other fans are feeling and just talk things out.
Normally, I'm almost begging people to come on this show, saying, come and discuss Tottenham. And of course, this last week, I've had so many people saying, come on, let's do a podcast. And I'm like, no, a little bit tired from the trip. Come on, let's do it, says Craig, every day. We've also got channel regular Gareth back with us. Gareth, how are you?
Chris, we can never get enough Tottenham Hotspur. That's one thing for sure. Just before I get into what I'm going to say, but I have to say, being from Ireland, massive achievement. My hometown, Derry City, have made it to the third round of the European qualifiers tonight in the European Conference League. Absolutely crazy game. It was a bit like a Spurs game, Chris. 1-0 up, 2-1 down, 3-2 down, 3 each. Won the first game 2-1. So we have a trip to Kazakhstan, and then a possible opponents could be Aston Villa or Lille. And I'm actually so happy it's Aston Villa. Imagine we had a finished 7th and it was Tottenham against my hometown. But people ask me what would have happened. I said I'm Spurs all the way. But all very, very happy to be on the show again, Chris. Fantastic. I think Craig's right. Me and Craig have been talking all week, missing the show, because the Leicester game being cancelled was massive, because you stole a show off us, Chris. We love our podcast. We love Spurs. But look, I can only imagine how you felt at the games. I can only imagine being at a game and it being cancelled, especially having to travel halfway around the world. But fantastic to be back. We're 9 or 10 days away from Spurs playing again in the Premier League. We've got obviously a massive game at the weekend in Barcelona during the week, so much to look forward to. I'm sure we'll get into what's happening with the club, but so happy to be on. And hey, Chris, you always say to me, be positive. I'm very positive after Tottenham or after Derry City. There we go. The Tottenham's coming out. Very positive after Derry City's result tonight in the Europa Conference League.
Craig, let's start the show with you. I just want to get your thoughts on how you're feeling at the moment and your thoughts on pre-season, because of course, as Gareth mentioned there, one of our games was cancelled in Thailand against Leicester because of the monsoon season. It absolutely pelted it down. I'll tell you what, you walked 10 metres and it was like someone had thrown 5 buckets of water over you. It was that bad. I knew that game weren't going to go ahead as soon as they tried to bounce that ball, roll the ball on the pitch. They did their very best to get that game going, but sadly it wasn't to be. But of course, before that, we lost 3-2 against West Ham United in Perth, Australia. And of course, we beat Lion City Sailors 5-1 in Singapore. What did you make of the performances? Have you been pleased with those two performances so far? And how are you feeling?
Yeah, it wasn't ideal really preparation. I mean the whole pre-season, if you could script it, it hasn't exactly gone to script, has it? So having the game cancelled wasn't ideal at all, and only having the two on the tour again, not ideal. Especially the what was the second game against the Sailors, that was kind of just a training match, wasn't it? And the West Ham game obviously was the first time the players had essentially played any competitive game, you know what I mean, under Postecoglou. I thought the performance was really good. I wasn't that fussed about the result. Of course, you always want to win, but it was the front foot attacking football that really, really pleased me, and it kind of gets the juices flowing, and it's seeing that and what might be. And like I say, against the Sailors, even though we went 1-0 down, you expected us to win that game, which of course we did. It's difficult to tell pre-season. It's just all about getting minutes in the legs and fitness, and obviously two different teams in both halves of both games. No real chance for the players to get any rhythm, but it's all about getting minutes in the legs and fitness. Great to see Maddison. I thought Maddison was good. Lo Celso surprised me. I think he's definitely worth a shout, keeping hold of him. Would have loved to have seen Tongi. Such a shame that he got injured just before that first game. But it does look like he might be heading out now to Galatasaray, which is a real shame because I really wanted to see him to see what he could do. But, you know, Ange sees him every day, so he's going to know if he wants him or not by now. And obviously, we'll come on to the Harry Kane stuff that seems to have it kind of took the shine off the tour a little bit. I'm sure Ange got bored of answering questions about Kane. Every single press conference, Harry Kane's name came up, and I think the reason I especially wanted to do the pod tonight is, apart from the therapy session, as Gareth and Melvin said, it's just venting a little bit, because I feel. You know, how I feel now after pre-season. It's frustration again at the moment because of a number of things. The centre-back situation is frustrating, but it looks like there's perhaps movement on that coming now. But the main thing is this Kane thing. It's just it set everybody on edge, really, because we just don't know what's happening with him. If he goes, then just get rid of him. That sounds terrible, but you know what I mean. Just let him go, get the money, and so we all know where we stand. And I think the main thing is for Ange Postecoglou, he's not going to know. How can you not know? And just over a week before your first game, if you're essentially club captain once Hugo's gone, he's going to be there or not? He's going to have to start preparing after Sunday for the game against Brentford. And how is he not going to know if England's captain is going to be in his team or not? It's just all a bit upsetting for the whole squad and the whole team and all the fans, really, not knowing what's going on. And it's gone quiet the last day, hasn't it? I haven't heard anything today, so I'm sure we'll come on to Harry Kane, but it's kind of been dominating things when it shouldn't really be. It should really be about the team.
Craig, we'll come back to a number of those points that you mentioned there, and we'll cover them in detail shortly. Melvin, let's get your thoughts on the pre-season tour and how you're feeling at the moment.
I enjoyed the two fixtures which we had, but it just seems we had so little football. I know we can't control, that the one game that got postponed, but it just seems that most other clubs played 4, 5, 6, maybe even 7 games, and really, really high-level opposition. The United have been playing Arsenal, Barcelona, Real Madrid. They've been playing, and we just played West Ham and City Sailors. I know we were bound to play Roma, who dropped out, and Leicester, but it's a bit disappointing. But what I've seen so far, it's promising, but it's still early days. But the manager says the right things, and on the pitch, you could still see a bit rust in the legs. And me and Gareth spoke while we were watching the first game, and all the players looked a bit leggy and not really sharp. And you won't see them at their absolute best, this early in the season. You won't see them until probably mid-September to be at their very, very best. So, they say August is like still a mini preseason as well, because the players aren't really 100%, full fitness. But from what we've seen so far, and the ambition and the way we attack, it's exciting. But I'm still holding myself from being, thinking, oh, we're back, we're gonna start challenging for top 4 and all those things. I'm still quite, cautious and reserved, but I'm happy with the progress we've made so far, and I'm just excited to see the team play again. Every single game I'm looking forward to. I'm counting the days till the next match. I'm thinking, oh, we're going to be playing at home. It's going to be versus, I'm just excited about football again and this season in general. So yeah, my mood is, I'm quite cheerful and happy in general, but this season I think I'm trusting what the manager is doing, and what I'm seeing I'm enjoying so far.
What about you, Gareth? How are you feeling?
I think the two boys make some great points. Look, the pre-season tour was very disappointing in terms of only getting 2 games out of a schedule 3. Roma, to be fair, the Roma thing was out of Spurs' control. Them pulling out of the tour for financial reasons. I think it was Wolves, Wolves might have pulled out of that tour as well. There was some sort of problems with teams in Asia. Look, the Lion City Sailors game, to me, was a waste of time. Total waste of time. I think we'd been better off playing Spurs' A team against Spurs' B team. It would have been a better watch for everyone involved. But the West Ham game, I was very impressed on what I've seen. I thought Spurs dominated, apart from the first 10 or 15 minutes, dominated the game for 75 minutes. And I don't mean just West Ham never had a kick, Chris. And it's as good as it's the most I've enjoyed Spurs throughout the game. And in years, the way they played, the way they moved the ball was fantastic. And it was their first game. The Leicester game was disappointing, being cancelled. But all in all, from what I've seen on the tour, it was very, very positive. I don't really take much of the, as I said, the Lion City Sailors game. I think it was a last-minute job just to get a team on to play a game. But Chris, it shows this tour is really all about commercial. It shows you the fact they had a first 45, second 45. I think really now that it starts now this week against Shakhtar, I'd be very, very surprised if we play a first 45 and second 45. I think you'll see players getting 60, 70 minutes and maybe our players coming on. I'll be very, very surprised on Sunday if we've got a first half XA and a second half XA. And if that happened, I'll be very, very worried, because we need to start getting players on the 60, 70 minutes, which I think will happen. And we've obviously got Barcelona on Tuesday. But I'd imagine it'd be mostly our first 16, 17 players. I don't see 22, 23 players playing more than maybe a few minutes. You might see players coming on towards the end, but I really do see us going strong in these 2 games, because Brentford's in, as we said, 10 days' time. But look, I'm feeling very positive. Craig mentioned a number of points about players, and I'm sure we'll come on to them. But just in terms of pre-season, it's been disrupted with the game cancelled and having to get the Lion City team on. But all in all, from what I've seen, I'm taking the most out of the West Ham game. West Ham won the European Conference League last year. All right, they're not your top 6, top 7 team traditionally, but they're still not a bad side, and we absolutely dominated that game. I think even David Moyes said after the game he couldn't believe how good Spurs were for the first game. So I think there's lots to be positive about. Craig mentioned that a number of players, like Lo Celso, he looks like a completely different player. And I've spoke about it on the show a number of times the last 3 or 4 years. We have got some players that need a football coach. Mourinho and Conte are tactical coaches. They want to shut up shop and get players defending. That's not Lo Celso's game. Now, I'm not saying he's going to have an unbelievable season, but I think Lo Celso needs an arm and the shoulder, someone to believe in his ability on the ball. And I think he could see a completely different player this season. So, Chris, so much happier with the style of play. And I think we could be in for a half decent season if we get the Craig did say centre backs is a massive issue. If we get the players on that we need, I think there's much to be positive about.
Craig, you must remember the 94-95 season very well, like I do. Jurgen Klinsmann, of course, signed for Tottenham in the summer of 94. Ozzy Ardiles played attacking football, very, very entertaining. Remains one of my favourite seasons ever watching Tottenham Hotspur. Of course, Jerry Francis then came in November because Ozzy was sacked because we played so attacking. We were wide open at the back. I felt that there were elements of that in that West Ham game. Now, of course, as you've all mentioned, that Lion City Sailors game, you can't really get a lot from it. Are you worried that the fact that Spurs are going to be wide open at the back? Because I might surprise a lot of viewers and listeners and even the three of you on the panel tonight. I don't feel that optimism that all of you do. I feel that we've got so much more to do in this transfer window, and we're 10 days away from the start of the Premier League season. We don't have defenders in. I know we're going to talk about defenders, and Spurs are in talks with Micky van de Ven, etc. But we've only let one player go. We've only sold one player with 10 days to go before the season starts, and that's Harry Winks. Are you surprised by such, so little business that we've done, either in or out, 10 days before the season?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm always positive before a season starts because it's a clean slate and everybody starts on nothing. So I think if you can't get up a little bit of positivity and you're absolutely dire with it, like I remember feeling when certain manager with a beard we don't talk about on this channel was in power, so to speak, and then.
Right. The only reason I say that is because the defence is at the moment. The defence is exactly the same. Yeah, that's what I'm
absolutely, and I think as assuming we keep hold of Harry Kane, I think even if we don't keep hold of Harry Kane, we're going to score a lot of goals. But as you say, we look painfully wide open at the back. I mean, that goal against the Sailors was abysmal. That was Sunday League defending. I mean, you always knew he was going to come back to win that game, but it was dreadful, and even defending against West Ham was shambolic. What worries me is that we didn't get in the centre backs before now. Certainly, at least one before the pre-season tour, because it takes time to build partnerships up, like Vertonghen and Alderweireld had, for example. Where they know where the other one's going to be. It takes time. We've got a brand new goalie, remember. And I'm not totally convinced by Vicario yet, but that's being a bit unfair perhaps because I haven't seen enough of him. But what I have seen, I'm not convinced completely yet by him, but he's a young keeper. He's new to the Premiership, and there's going to be errors there, and people have to just stick with it, me included. The fact we haven't got anybody out, that concerns me even more, because you cannot go into a Premiership season with 35 players on the books. I would imagine it will be similar to the last transfer window. When was it last summer? I think it was, when 4 players went out on the last day. Was it Reguilon, Ndomble, Lo Celso, and somebody else who somebody will tell me about? I can't remember. But I think you'll see a lot go out perhaps on the last day. But I would hope that they can get a few out the door before then and actually get a bit of money in for these players, because they've known since January that this back line needs a massive rebuild. The likes of Sanchez, the likes of Tanganga, time for them both to go, I think. And we seem to be overloaded with wing backs as well. I mean, it's unfortunate for Cess. I would hope for so much more from him, and it just hasn't gone his way. I think, if he wasn't injured now, he would probably be looking for a loan or a sale, moving on permanently. But there is a lot of work to do. I am hopeful we can get at least one of these centre-backs over the line. But as you say, Chris, I do remember that football in 94, 95, and it was exhilarating to watch. And you could argue if we score 6 and the other team scores 5, it doesn't really matter. But I don't think that is sustainable. Having seen that and lived through it, it's kind of proved it's not sustainable. I love the attacking football, and I'd never want Postecoglou to change on that. But you need a strong defence. And I think Micky van de Ven coming in, who I'm sure we'll come on to, his pace would get him out of trouble like Kyle Walker's did a lot of the time. I've never thought Kyle Walker was the best defender in the world, but his pace got him back into positions just to get him so he can jockey the player a lot of the time. So I think that's important, that we've got not only a capable defender from what I've seen, but a very fast defender, because there's not much pace at the back there. So, yeah, a lot of work to do. And I'd really like to see some players going out the door as well, because that squad needs trimming down by at least, I'd say, 10 players.
Melvin, let's come to you. I think Darren makes a very, very good point here on screen. If we do bring in top centre-backs, our wing-backs got exposed in both pre-season games. Do you worry that Postecoglou is going to go too attacking in Premier League football? Because, of course, we know that he's been successful everywhere he's been. The Premier League is very different. We saw Bielsa at Leeds play super attacking football. Very, very great team to watch, very entertaining, but they shipped a lot of goals. Do you think it's going to be very similar at Spurs, even if we did bring in one or two decent centre-backs?
I don't know. I don't think he's fully happy with the squad at the moment. I don't know. I just think the midfield, we're being linked with Conor Gallagher, Frank Kessie. I still don't think we have a spine yet. I know we keep playing Bissouma, and he keeps changing the teams for the preseason, and we don't even know what our best lineup is yet. But I hate to say this, but if you go back to 2014-15, when we had Wanyama and Moussa Dembele and Vertonghen and Toby, you could see a spine in the team, and you can't see it yet with ours. It just seems we have good players, but we don't have a proper team yet, and I don't know if we're gonna be if we're gonna. It's difficult to say this early in the season, because we've only seen them play twice, and you can't really judge them on 2 games. I know we played, opposition. We never played anyone, and you know what I mean. It's like you can't really gauge where the team is at the moment, because we played Lion City Sailors, who yes are third in their league, but they're halfway through their season, so they're much fitter than us, and the first team, the first half played much worse than the second team half. It's like,
Melvin, isn't it about preparation though? Isn't it about preparation as a football club? You've brought in a brand new head coach. Isn't it about preparation that the club gives the brand new head coach the players that he needs to work with during pre-season when he started the job on the 1st of July? Isn't it about preparation in the club bringing in the players that he needs from the very off?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. Like, short term, I'm worried about what's going to happen, but long term, I'm not worried, because if you think about it, and if we get the players that we need eventually, let's say they're not ready for Brentford, which is a really bad way to think about it, because realistically, if we want to achieve something, we need to start off on the right foot. But this, how the circumstances came, we're not going to have everything we need for Brentford. Ideally, we would have brought these players the second day the transfer window opened, but it's not realistic. It's not the way it happened. Hench said it himself. It's not like Amazon and you order and the next day the player arrives in the parcel. It's like a
lot of the other clubs do it.
Yeah, a lot of the other clubs overpay as well. That's the way. And we thought the stadium was going to be that kind of difference where we start to overpay, but it's not going to happen. But realistically, I think long term we're going to get the targets that we need, and I think we'll be okay. Short term, I'm worried, because I don't think we're quite ready. And you look at Manchester United; they played 6 pre-season friendlies, and we've played 2. But you never know what's going on behind closed doors. And I just think when we play Brentford, I just think we're not ready. And not even we're not ready. I think the players don't believe in his system yet either. It's like they know, yes, we can attack, but it's like they don't believe we can go out there and beat them until it starts to happen, and that belief will come slowly. And eventually we'll start blowing teams out of the water. But until that happens, it's gonna take time. And I think I'm ready to be patient with this manager, where previously I wasn't. With Conte and Jose, I wanted to win right there, because we gave up the style of play so we can win, but it didn't come through. So with this manager, I'm ready to be patient with him and just you look at Arteta in his first season. He wasn't playing the best football, but he stuck to his philosophy and he believed in what he was going to do. And I'm ready in a way to do the same. I'm ready to believe in Ange and yeah, I know it's not the right mentality, but I'm ready to be patient and we'll see where it goes. But like I said, I'm worried about the first few fixtures because I don't think we're 100% prepared, and I think even though we haven't seen enough games and we don't know where we are as a football club, he could be playing these games behind closed doors and be pushing them really, really hard, and we don't know what's going on. We don't know what Ange is doing at Hotspur Way in the last, how many days they've been back. So I'm excited to see where we are when we play Shakhtar. If we keep a clean sheet against Shakhtar and we win comfortably and we attack and we have all those shots on target, and then you start to say, okay, then we're improving. We didn't concede any silly goals, but if we concede against Shakhtar again and we're playing arguably our strongest 11, then you start to think, maybe we're not quite there yet. Maybe we're a bit, we're getting ahead of ourselves. But like I said, I'm excited for the football. I'm behind the team, and I'm buzzing to see them play. I'm just buzzing to see attacking football again. And some of the new signings like Manor Solomon, wow, I was so excited when I saw him play. I didn't expect him to be like that because I didn't know much of him, but he's a cracker. He's lightning quick and he's exciting. He reminds me of Aaron Lennon, because Aaron Lennon used to get you off your seats when you watch him play. And he's an exciting player. I really, really enjoyed watching him play. And I think he's a shout to start ahead of Kulusevski against Brentford.
Gareth, let's come to you. Now, the latest update from Fabrizio Romano: Tottenham's proposal sent to Wolfsburg on Wednesday for Micky van de Ven was 40 million euros fee plus 5 million euros add-ons. Wolfsburg want different payment terms or easier add-ons. Otherwise, the request will be 50 million euros package. Spurs are still working on the Edmund Tapsoba deal. He has also stated that Chairman Daniel Levy is taking care of the final steps of negotiations in order to sign Micky van de Ven from Wolfsburg. Deal is now at the final stages. Tottenham have to agree with Wolfsburg on payment terms and instalments. Are you excited about this possible deal for Van de Ven, and do you think it's going to get over the line?
Look, I said a number of weeks ago, between the two players, I think Van de Ven suits us better. Just because he's left-footed, from what I've seen, he's better on the ball. Now, a lot of reports say that Tapsoba is the more elite defender. But, Chris, I think getting back to the point about the fee, I mean, there's rumours 5-6 weeks ago we had this boy for 30 million, but we've haggled and we've negotiated the Tapsoba fee alongside to see who we can get for a better deal. I think Wolfsburg have looked at this and thought, you know what, if they want, because it's become public knowledge, they want 50 million. If Bayern Leverkusen want 50 million euros for Leverkusen, then we want 50 million euros for Van de Ven. I mean, a lot of reports 5-6 weeks ago says we had Van de Ven for around 30 to 35 million euros. And it all went quiet after that. So I kind of get the feeling that we're getting, for this haggling that's been happening, I get the feeling the club ideally want Tapsoba. I get that feeling. And Van de Ven was the sort of backup option. But personally, I think Van de Ven would be a good signing. But I think for the money involved now, they're talking 45, 50 million euros. It's a lot of money for a player that's not well known. You know, a lot of Wolfsburg fans aren't dying up. They don't seem to be losing too much sleep over it. Tapsoba is obviously the more recognised player. I'm guessing now that money's went up. Otherwise, we would be in for Tapsoba. But Chris, you coming on? Sorry, you look like you're coming.
No, I was going to say, you know, me being a Spurs fan, I think that I would feel so much better if we had a couple of centre backs over the line. So if we went out and signed Tapsoba and Van de Ven, if they're the right players that Postecoglou wants, by the way, then I feel that Spurs will be showing real ambition in this transfer window. To go out and just buy one of them, I don't think it's going to be enough. And me being realistic, I don't think we're going to get anywhere near top 4 with this current squad, even with one centre back in. I think we need to do so much more in this window.
Chris, I said a number of weeks ago when me and Melvin had that sort of debate on the podcast about players there. I think we need 2 centre backs, and I mean 2 proven players ready to come on the team. Because if we sign just one, let's just say we get Van de Ven and Romero gets injured, then we're back to Dyer on there, or and I just don't think that's sustainable. And people can talk about we've only got 38 Premier League games plus cup games, and injury can happen in training. It's got nothing to do with how many games you're playing. Of course, with more games, you're more likely to pick up contact injuries, but a muscle injury can happen in training like that. So it's got nothing that you have to have at least 3 top centre backs for this season, plus somebody that's able to come on and play. So I just think that Spurs have, for as well as they've done in Poyton Postecoglou, which I think is a fantastic appointment, which I'll speak about in a minute, but I think they've let him down in the transfer market with haggling over these centre backs, because it was massive talks. I remember exactly when it was the 10th of July, because I was going to watch the new Mission Impossible film, and I think John Cross from the Daily Mirror and other sort of reporters had said that Spurs had agreed a 30 million deal for Van de Ven. So I don't understand what the hold-up is. I think they ideally wanted Tapsoba, and now that Wolfsburg sort of know that because it's public knowledge, they said to Spurs, well, we want the same, and now it's looking like we're 5 million short. They're unhappy with the payments, so I can see it dragging on. I do think we will end up with Tapsoba or Van de Ven, but I don't see both of them coming in, and that's a big worry. A lot of talk about Langley and Saudi Arabia, but apparently he wants to come back, and I think that's just the wrong approach, because a player wanting to come back to a team last season that were absolutely miles off it just tells me what it was like at this club. Holiday camp. I do not want to see another holiday camp of players turning up here, getting big wages, letting the club down, doing a few social media videos, and then it's okay again. Not happening. For me, Langley, people say, Chris, we spoke about it before, he's okay. If he's okay, he's not good enough. I would rather see a youth player on there. I would rather see this lad Phillips, you're on about saying, I'd rather see Phillips on there than Langley. And that's my personal opinion, because I've seen what Langley has, and it's not good enough. I want to be... Now, we're talking about top 4 Champions League football, winning trophies. That's just the start for me. I want to see us challenging. We're paying the most expensive tickets in the land.
For what?
But Chris, you can't charge ridiculous prices. I mean,
no, you said I want to see us challenging. What do you want to see us challenging for?
No, minimum, I want to see us back in Champions League football. But I mean, on a platform to that, I want to see us challenging at the top. Now, people might think that's crazy because, we're not a Man United, we're not a Liverpool, we're not an Arsenal. We're paying big money. We're paying the most expensive tickets.
Exactly. So Noel writes on screen now, we have more chance of seeing aliens in our lifetime, expecting 2 decent centre-backs in this transfer window.
And this is the problem. The club have this idea of, we'll sort of pickpocket our way through the market. We'll charge ridiculous prices. We've got a brand new stadium, that's making more money than you'll believe, and that'll be okay. For me, if Spurs were still on White Hart Lane and charging £30 a ticket like Brentford are, then we can't really complain, because that's the level they're at. But when you're paying these kind of prices, and you're being sold a dream where it's we're going to do this and we're going to do that, then why should we not believe as fans that this is what we're entitled to? Because it's not. It's completely wrong. But Chris, moving away. I mean, as I said to Melvin and Craig and yourself, this tour and every preseason tour, like Melvin spoke about Man United having 6 games, these tours are all commercial. It's very, very little what happens on that pitch is, it's just a game. Most of the work Ange is doing is on the training pitch. That's why he's doing 245s with 2 different teams. How many players have we seen on preseason tours before have played games and moved on? Like Craig spoke about it at the end of the window. I just see that happening again. Now, I think the problem is that a lot of these players haven't moved on because there's very little interest in them. I mean, we're talking about Ndomble being sold for 10 million euros. So I think for at the moment, it's just about trying to get what they can, Chris, for fees for players. But I can see what happened. We see me Matt Doherty, Serge Aurier. I can see a lot of contracts. Maybe once September hits, if players haven't moved on, it could be a matter of cutting contracts for a couple of them. Because as Craig said, it's totally infeasible to go on the season with 35, 36 players. But I just think at the minute they're trying to do their best to get fees in. But unfortunately, the interest isn't there. And it's a big worry because I hope the club don't have the view, Chris, that if we can't get rid of Sanchez and we keep Eric Dyer, that we've got enough covered centre-back. There's no point signing 2 centre-backs because if we get one on and we've got them 2, then we're okay. Because if that happens, Chris, like you said about the playing style, that will worry me. In the game, as I said, I don't want to talk about the Lion City Sailors game because they were miles off a level will be against the season. But in the West Ham game, I think we conceded 4 shots on target and we conceded 3 goals. Now, that just tells me already that we're dominating games more because if they've only had 4 shots, then that's a big. I've seen teams last season peppering us. I think it's very unlikely if we go into games this season, time after time, if a team has 4 shots, they'll score 3 goals. I think it was just a one-off. Defensively, we weren't good enough, and we know there's massive gaps there. But I think the style of play is going to enable us to dictate games more and dominate games more. And it's just then we have to get these centre-backs in to then delegate the fact that we're going to be so positive going forward that we have to watch on the counter-attack. And if you get a couple of centre-backs in, they snuff out them. Like, Basuma's been super in pre-season from what I've seen. I think he's going to be a big player for us this season. If you get the centre-backs in and you've got him, the goalkeeper, as Craig says, I've not seen a lot of him. And that's probably a good thing. The fact we haven't seen a lot of him, he's not been that busy. So if we go into Shakhtar and Barcelona, he's not done a lot, then he just has to be positive on the line. And he's on there for his playing a ball anyway. So, look, there's no point saying it's great. But against the likes of Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal, of course, we're going to be under the back foot a bit more. But I think it's just about strengthening that spine, midfield, defence. But I'm very, very positive, Chris. I think the style of play is very, very good. I don't think Ange is stupid. He's not the type. The way he speaks is very positive as well. So he's handled all these press conferences well with Harry Kane. I get the feeling that we're getting our Spurs back. So if he gets backed, now this is the problem, Chris. If he gets back properly in the market with Levy and Enoch, then I think we could be in for a half decent season. And it's for me, this season's about getting back into the Champions League. There's possibly 5 spots going between 4th and 5th. And winning a trophy. And if not winning a trophy, being very, very close, and then you can build on that. And for me, Chris, one thing that I'm looking at in these games in the league this season, even if we don't do well, results-wise, is performance. And I want to see us go to Liverpool away, Man City away, United away, and be competitive. We won't sit back anyway, but I want to see us go there and scare them. And if we do that there, then I'll be very, very happy.
Craig, where do you think the ambition is to finish in the league table this season? What will Daniel Levy be saying to Ange Postecoglou? We must finish in what spot? We must finish in the Champions League. We must finish in a Europa League spot, a Europa Conference League spot, or will he be happy finishing outside those European places again in 8th place like we just have? Because someone made a very good point a minute ago. Arsenal are just about to sign David Raya as a backup goalkeeper when we didn't want to pay that money for an experienced goalkeeper, an experienced Premier League goalkeeper that I feel, I think a lot of Spurs fans feel that he would have done a very, very good job. We've gone and bought Vicario instead. Of course, we don't know how it's going to pan out with him. Let's hope that he's going to be a good goalkeeper. But our North London rivals just up the road are about to sign a very, very good, capable goalkeeper in Premier League football as a backup. What do you think the main ambition from the football club is? Because when we're talking about all of these transfers and about our transfer window and we're rating as fans the transfer window, what are we aiming for? Because if it is top 4, I feel like we're miles away.
Yeah, I would imagine if he's put a position on it, it's got to be to get back into Europe, and it's got to be Europa League minimum. So if it does come down to 5th, the Champions League, I guess you're looking 7th and upwards. I think that's achievable. I agree with you that we're probably way off Champions League at the moment with this squad. at the moment, if we went into the season with that squad and couldn't get anybody else in, no way. We're miles off top 4, top 5. The Arsenal going for Raya. I mean, I was annoyed we didn't push for him anyway. You could argue all day whether 40 million is right, but that's what he's worth to Brentford. And, you know, we're doing it with Harry Kane. So when you look at it, for me, if you'd given me a choice between 40 million Raya and what did we pay for Vicario? 25, was it? Something like that?
17 million.
17. It's a bit unfair because I don't know enough about Vicario. And look, they'd have done their due diligence, I'm sure. I would have preferred to overpay a little bit for Raya. I was a bit disappointed we didn't go for Raya. But Arsenal seem to be following the Man City model where they've got a really, really good 2 11s. So the backups are as good as the first team. So they haven't really got... I mean, Manchester City, I think a lot of us would have trouble, apart from a few key players, to choose Man City's strongest 11. And that's the goal, isn't it? That is what you'd love to have at Tottenham. You bring in a player and it doesn't weaken the team at all. I mean, how many centre-backs has City got now? And why aren't we putting in bids for Aymeric Laporte and people like that? They're just signing Gvardiol, for God's sake. And, you know, they've paid, 77, 80 million for him. You could say they've overpaid for him. But I think he's a great player. I think he'll adapt to the English league. And that's what the big teams do. City go about their business quietly and without any fuss, and they get the deals done. Then you never see City backwards and forwards like we do, pulling out of the deal, walking away, trying to get prices down. It's not what the big clubs do. And it frustrates the hell out of me because I must be a fool to myself because every transfer window I think, they're going to do it differently this time. They're going to do it differently. You know, I know what we've done in the past, but they've got to do it differently, surely, because doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results is madness, as we all know. And every single transfer window, we do the same thing over and over and over again. And it's just frustrating because we've all sat there, I'm sure. You read Twitter, you watch YouTube videos and you think, God, I could do a better job than that. Why aren't they doing this? And of course, it's daft because that's not our profession. But there is a small part of me that thinks, do you know what? I could actually have a decent input into this if I was given the reins to do it. And it does make you wonder whether Levy does micromanage far too much. He wants to see every penny coming in the bank account, going out the bank account. And perhaps does that stall us in so many ways because he might put a limit, right, you can't go above X amount for such and such a player. And then, you know, if they're really haggling, I'll come in and deal with it. And sometimes we've lost players. Over many years, we've lost players, I'm sure, that we really wanted, could have done the club a lot of good. And we've haggled over 2, 3, 4, 5 million, which to us is obviously a hell of a lot of money, and it is a lot of money. But to a club like Tottenham, it's not, is it? You know, and we penny pinch. Look at the Grealish deal. God, we could talk about so many different deals. We've got to do things differently because, as I say, going back to Raya, I think he'd have been a perfect fit for our goalie. I'm not dissing Vicario, by the way. Like I say, I haven't seen enough of him to make a proper judgment. But we have to do things differently. Like Gareth said, I'd love to get these centre-backs in before the window, before the pre-season tour, at least one of them. And, you know, Harry Kane must be looking at this thinking, they're not doing anything differently. Why should I hang around? If, you know, I made these promises and they're not bringing in the players to make me believe we're going to do anything. So I don't know what the answer is, but yeah, it's not good.
So I was going to ask Craig, what do you think the ambition is then? What do you think Daniel Levy has said to Postecoglou? We must finish in a European spot. So 1 to 7th. Yeah. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like I said right at the start, I think he's probably said Europa League minimum. Obviously, they're going to be striving for the Champions League because that's the one they want to get in. But I don't think he'd want a Conference League, and certainly he wouldn't want to finish 8th again or below. God forbid. It's got to be a minimum of the Europa League. Surely, it's got to be.
Melvin, let's come to you on that exact point. If Spurs were to aim to finish in a Europa League spot next season, what more do we need to do in this transfer window, and how far are we away from that?
I think, in a way, we're asking, like, the wrong question, because I think we're looking at it the wrong way. I think Postecoglou will say to Levy, this rebuild, I want to build it in a way where I win the league in 2 years, for example. Build me a squad that will win the league in 2 years, because we're not going to win it this year. We're not going to win it maybe the next season. But if you look at Arsenal, the way they were building it, I think
the league.
Yeah, win the league in 3 years. That's the aim. It's not finishing the top 4. That's not the aim. I'm sure.
I don't feel I could be on that.
No, but
Melvin, I think what's more realistic what happened was Levy said to him, "You've got 2 years. Within them 2 years."
No. Postecoglou will say to Levy, "I want to win the league in 2 years. I don't want." He
wouldn't know, because Ange would have said that's unrealistic. I think what Levy would have said to Ange was, by the end of your second season, we need to be back in the Champions League. I think that's the aim. I wouldn't say
it's the wrong mentality. It's the wrong mentality. The aim is in top 4.
Melvin, I remember Melvin coming on this channel saying exactly the same thing about Antonio Conte.
It still remains the case. The aim should never be top 4. Why is the aim top 4? The aim is to win the league. Set up a team that will try to win the league. If you fall short, okay, you come second.
But
at least aim high.
That's your opinion. That's your opinion. What I think Levy would have said different.
I think it has to be
more than 2 years.
Let Melvin finish, please.
But the aim has to be set up. Okay, now we have a new manager. We have a new opportunity to start to think. Change the mentality. Stop aiming for top 4. Okay, now from my opinion, I'm ready for this rebuild. I'm ready to be patient with the manager. If we start buying the way I see it is we're buying young players. The mold is young players. So these players are going to come in not knowing the Premier League, never played. Most of the players that are coming in are from the German league. The only player is Madison that has Prem experience that we've bought this window. We're buying young players that won't hit their prime until 3-4 years. Yes, Kane would have left by then or would have retired. But in a way, we need to look at this, build a team that will be in their best in 3-4 years times. Destiny's 22, 21. These are young players that we have. Kozewski's 22, 21. There's Bissouma's quite young. There's Vicario is very young. These players will hit their prime in 3 years, and they will be experienced and know the Postecoglou system. I don't see us. That should be the aim. The aim should be to buy players that will win us the league in 3 years, and we will be absolutely like Celtic did. I'm sure it was easier for him because the Celtic. It's not the same level as the Premier League, so it will take him longer. But like he says, he has better resources. He has more money. There's better pull. They say Celtic is a bigger club than Spurs. So why don't, we can go to Celtic and take their best players because we have a bigger pull than Celtic. I know they've won more in the last few years, but the Premier League is one of the biggest leagues in the world. We have one of the best stadiums in the world, and if we start to play really, really attractive football and the manager does pretty much what he did with Celtic, I think we can. There will be a buzz about Spurs next season, like how Declan Rice speaks about Arteta this season. There will be players saying, "Oh, I want to come play for Ange. I want to continue what he's doing with Spurs," and we build on that momentum. Chris, like you said, I said this under Conte and under Jose. It's the wrong mentality to aim for 4th. You have to aim for top, and if you miss, you miss. But at least you come 2nd, you come 3rd, or you come 4th. But you need to aim to win the league. It's the wrong mentality to try to say the aim is top 4. I don't think we're a million miles away from top 4. I mean, we finished 4th under Conte.
How many players?
It's not impossible to finish. It's not if we bring in the defenders that we're being linked with. Even if we bring in one and go and they're not injured, I think we'll be okay. But if we bring in 2, cover. I mean, we don't have European football, which is a massive factor. I mean, people forget about that. I think not playing Tuesdays and Thursdays, I think it's going to be massive for us. Brighton, Aston Villa, and all these clubs have much more extra games than we do, and I think it's going to make a difference in the points. I think we'll gain 10 to 15 more points than last season easily, just because of that. One, because we had a really poor season, and two, I think the first season and we have exciting players. I think we can do well. It's just how long until all the players start to believe in the manager and believe in the way we're playing. It's just the question was about if the aim is top 4, if Levy is saying to Postecoglou, I want you to finish top 4. If he still is asking those questions, I think Levy needs to get out of that chair, because the goal should be, I want to build you a team that will win the league in 3 years. And if in 3 years he doesn't win the league, for example, then there needs to be questions asked from the manager.
Melvin, a very quick yes or no. Will Spurs sign Van de Ven?
Yeah, I think so. I'm confident.
Will Spurs sign Tapsoba?
I don't think we'll sign both. If we sign both, I think Kane will be sold. It's just, you know what I mean? It's like you take a finger and you pull the whole arm sort of thing. It's like, I don't think we'll get both over the line, but I see Van der Ven getting over the line.
You know what, Melvin? I absolutely love your optimism. Mark writes here, Chris, you used to be more positive. What's happened to you? It's realism. I'm being realistic. I think we're miles away from top 4, and I think we have to do so much more in this transfer window. It's not just about what we do anywhere in the window. Look at all of the other clubs around us. More importantly, the teams that finished 1st to 7th in the Premier League table last season, they have all gone out. They have all spent money. They have all bought good quality players in. They have strengthened probably more than us, and we were 8th. So I think that there is so much more to do. Gareth, Gareth, Van de Ven, will he be a good signing for Spurs? Are you confident that this deal is actually going to get over the line?
I think it'd be a great signing. I think we're going to overpay if we get him, because I don't think that was the original idea. I don't think he's shown enough, from what I've seen, to be a 50 million euros player. You're looking at 43, 44, 45 million. A lot of money for centre back, Chris. That somebody that was available, we reckon, for 30 million. But I think it could be what we need. And at this stage now, Chris, money is irrelevant. I think we need to have players on. So for me, out of the two, from what I've seen, based on what I've seen of Ange, I think Van de Ven would be the better buy. But, no doubt we'll get Van de Ven, and Tapsoba will go to Man City in 2 years. Seems to be the way it is. But look, I'll be happy if Van de Ven comes on, regardless of the money at this stage. I just think we need him. And I think he walks straight into the team. For me, it's Romero and Van de Ven at the back, and a back two.
Gareth, let's stay with you. Fabrizio Romano has also stated that Tottenham are prepared to close the Ashley Phillips deal for £2 million fee by the end of this week. If all goes to plan, the release clause will kick into his contract. He has already said yes to Spurs. Have you seen anything of Ashley Phillips? What do you make of him? And do you think he's going to be a first-team player, or do you think he'll go into the under-21 squad?
Chris, I'm not really interested in this at all. Just the same way I knew we'll speak about the Argentinian striker. Look, these are deals that really shouldn't be dominant in our transfer window. These should be like back street deals being done. We're signing players for 2-3 years' time. We shouldn't be hearing about this. I mean, Chris, you want to come on here and talk about Van de Ven, Tapsoba, maybe another midfielder coming on. You don't want to be asking me what I think of Ashley Phillips coming on for $2 million.
We've got to cover it. We've got to cover it on the podcast.
No, I know that, but ideally that's not where we want to be at. A player coming on for that kind of money.
But I can't win. People are calling me miserable because I'm trying to be realistic about our season. I've got to ask you about Ashley Phillips.
I get. No, I'm not saying you can't ask me. What I'm saying,
this is probably why I didn't want to record this podcast, and Craig did.
Ideally, this could be like a. So we've signed Van de Ven, Madison. Oh yes, we've got the young Blackburn centre back. When we talk about him next year, we shouldn't be really. This is where we're at, and it's kind of getting back to the point Melvin made about. I agree with what he's saying. Within 3 or 4 years, I would love to see us challenging one in the league, but I don't think Daniel Levy has that intention in his head. I really don't. I think it's very much about getting back in the Champions League and sustaining that challenge. I really do. I don't see a will to go and let's go and win the league. I don't see that. Like you speak about some of these comment there, put up about Arsenal being eighth, fifth, and then second. But let's think about it 3 or 4 years ago. Arsenal's owners have been very, very heavily criticised, the Cronkies. But the difference is they have backed a manager they believe in, and I have yet to see that happen at Spurs. Pochettino was the best we've had in a long time, and he wasn't back. So I don't get that feeling. Even if Ange was to go on and do great things, even if he got us into the top 4 this year, let's just say. But I do believe that Ange has been told within 2 years you need to get back in the Champions League. I think that'll be his target. I don't think, not that they should be a total write-off, but I think that as long as they're thereabouts, showing good signs, next season he'll be judged on, and he'll have to get us into the Champions League football, whether that's 3-1 in the Europa League or being in the top 4 or 5 based on the placings. But I don't, Chris, I'll be totally shocked if I don't see a will to go and win the league at Spurs. I just don't see it. When have we ever went out and got a world-class footballer, or went out and spent, crazy amounts of money on a player that, the players on the market this summer was like sort of Bellingham, Declan Rice. They were the 2 talked about midfielders that everybody wanted. Arsenal went and got one of them, and I think we're much, not to say we're as good as them, but I think we're much in the same situation as Liverpool are. Liverpool's fans are very frustrated at the moment. They've lost Bellingham to Real Madrid. There's talk now of Casino going to Chelsea. Lavia, a deal's stolen. I think we're very much on the business side of things, Chris, and I think it's very much we have to sell, they buy. We might have room for one top signing like Madison, but I do not see a world they want this club. I think it's top 4 and possibly domestic trophies. I would love to have Melvin's optimism, and I do share that we should be there. I think what Melvin's points are right, that within a manager calling the Spurs, with the money we're spending, the stadium we've got, the money we're generating, should be within 3 years you have got to at least be challenging for the league. But at this club, I think if a manager come on and got top 4 for the next 5 or 6 years, I don't see him being sacked for not being able to win the league. That's the top and bottom of it. So, Chris, much work to be done, but I think we have to walk before we can run. And do you know what? The only answer to the question you had, Chris, was see if we get into the top 4 and we're not progressing as a club, being under Ange or our manager, and we're just sort of staying 3rd, 4th, dropping to 5th. If we're not pushing for the top 1 or 2 and challenging, that'll tell you everything. But I think we're a long way away from that to even believe we can even think about that. So,
Gareth, a quick yes or no: Ashley Phillips a good signing for you?
I don't know anything about him. All I can say is you have to trust the scouting department. But again, it's one of them deals where I think it should be way, way, way away from topic. I think we should be signing. If we sign Van de Ven, Tapsoba, Chris, I guarantee you probably wouldn't be asking me about Ashley Phillips. And that's where we're at as a club at the moment. You'd be thinking we've got 2 top centre backs, and you might mention, we've got Ashley Phillips on as a youngster going well. He could be a great player in 3 or 4 years. But the fact that the only centre back we look close to signing is Ashley Phillips is why you're asking me, and it just shows you the ambitions of the club.
Chris, what are their plan with this defender anyway? Because if they bring him in just to sit on the bench, they're gonna stagnate his development. So what's the point?
I believe that he will be put into the under-21 squad, and he is a very decent up-and-coming defender. And it's what the academies do now. It's what the development sides do. They go out and they scout these players, and they want to now buy players in. That is what they do now. It's modern-day football. Craig, let's come to you because, of course, another update. Fabrizio Romano stated that talks are ongoing for Argentina striker Alejo Véliz. No agreement in place between all parties, but negotiations are concrete. But reports in Argentina in the last couple of hours have stated there is a complete agreement between Tottenham and the player on a 5-year contract. The clubs are now discussing a sell-on clause, payment terms, and deciding where he will play his football until the end of the calendar year 2023. What do you make of this signing? I believe it's going to be another signing that probably going into the under-21 squad when he does eventually join Spurs, if he does join Spurs, if it does get over the line. But it does look likely that this is going to be done. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, unsurprisingly, I know nothing about this lad. How much are they talking we're paying for him, Chris? Do you know?
12 million.
12 million. Okay. Not a small amount of money.
The only thing I would say, Craig, is Tim Vickery was on Sky Sports earlier today. Of course, he is the South American football expert, knows his stuff, and he is unconvinced by this signing. Yeah,
I saw that clip earlier when Michael Bridge was on doing the transfer show at 7:00. You got to trust him on his South American football. He does know his stuff. A little bit worrying this one for me because, like I say, 12 million, not a small amount of money. So, again, is the scouting department wrong or is Vickery wrong? Do you know what? I don't know. It's a risk, isn't it? I think it's a bit of a risk. I mean, loaning him back probably till January or something like that, and then bringing him over. I mean, he can't be a direct replacement for Kane if Kane goes, because that would just be utterly ridiculous. I think it's just a bit of opportunistic business from the club. And like you say, putting him in the development squad. That's the only thing I can think of and see how he goes. It does worry me a little bit that he's bringing in these young players. I know the teams do it, like you say, but is it helping the lads in our academy that are already there, the up and coming lads, you know? Dane Scarlett, Troy Parrott, Sunset Bell, you know, people like that. Is that stunting their development? I mean, I would expect Parrott would have kicked on now and be challenging for our first team, but he doesn't seem to be at that standard yet. I don't know how old Troy Parrott is now. He's probably 21, 22. So he should be getting there. But signings like this, I don't know enough about the lad to make a judged opinion on it, really. But as I say, it's got to be an opportunistic signing. They've probably been looking at him for a number of months or even years, and perhaps have decided to go in for him because he's going to be available. I suppose it's just one of those wait and see. I'll have to go and see if I can find some clips of him playing because I know very little about him, really.
Melvin, let's come to you. Reports are stating that Galatasaray are now interested in Tanguy Ndombele. Is it finally time that the Tottenham Hotspur midfielder moves on a permanent deal?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I'm sure the manager has seen him in training, seen what he can do. And I'm sure they played games behind closed doors and had a good look at him before deciding. I think maybe he might play him against Spartak Moscow. Sorry, Shakhtar Donetsk, I mean. Spartak Moscow is the team for
We're not back
Sanchez.
In Europe yet. We're not back in Europe yet.
Yeah, I had the two teams mixed up in my head. But yeah, I'm sure we'll see him play maybe on the 6th of August. And we'll see if he plays well. I'm sure the manager might decide to keep him, but he might already have made up his mind. And the way Gio is playing, I think definitely one was going to be kept, but maybe not both. It depends. If I'm sure they're confident they can get a fee, which is rare these days for us, because it seems we can't sell anyone. And if we can get him off the books and have this saga, done and dusted, because I'm getting pretty sick of talking how talented the guy is and not being able to play for more than 65 minutes. And I mean, he's another player that went off to another league and won something and not win with us. So you need to bite the bullet and move him on if that's what the manager wants. If he wants to keep him, I'm sure he can be a good impact sub or have a role in the team. I mean, that's what he pretty much played for Napoli. He came on off the bench and he played that way. But yeah, for Ndomble, I'm much more excited about, Bissouma, Papasar, and the other players, Madison, Lo Celso. I'm much more excited about them than Gio. I mean, sorry, Ndombele. And I mean, Ndombele, he had his chance. He played under 3-4 managers, and he couldn't excite them enough for them to keep him. And it's like, if you couldn't prove yourself in all this time, I mean, I don't know. It's difficult. It's difficult to win over the fans now, and I'm sure lots of fans they want to see more of him. But I don't know. He has so much talent, and it's just a shame. And you think it's so difficult to get to the position where he is. It's like, why don't you just grab it with both hands and seize the opportunity? I mean, so many players and ex-players wish they're in his position right now, and just even me, I wish I was in his position right now, trying to play for Spurs. But it just, I don't know. It's just some people have it and some people don't, and it just seems I don't want to waste another season saying the same things we used to say a couple of years ago. I think we should move on, and I hate repeating these things. And it's like, yeah, I mean, it's like the Eric Dyer situation. I mean, a lot of people don't want to give him another chance. Why should we give Eric Dyer another chance when you know what I mean? It's like, just move on, cut ties, and sell him. If we can get a fee for Ndombele, I'm sure we're not going to get a fee for Eric Dyer, but we move on in Ndombele, get 11 million, and invest it in Tapsoba or Van de Ven, and even there's so many other players that we can get a fee for. Sanchez, Tanganga, there's Roden. I'm sure if Levy set up like buy one, get one free, buy one for 5 million, get one free, we'll have 50-60 million by the time he does that. But it's
a lot of ifs. It's a lot of ifs, Melvin, isn't it? Because Sanchez, why on earth 10 days before the season, why is Sanchez still at the football club? Why is Lloris still at the football club? He's looking for another club. He didn't go on the tour. From what I understand, Spurs are now wanting money for Lloris rather than let him go on a free transfer. People like Perisic,
it's probably wages. It's probably wages. They're on high wages, and the clubs they're going to, the leagues they're going to. I mean, none of them are as wealthy as the Premier League. The Serie A is struggling. The Spanish league is struggling. Germany is behind. All these leagues, they can't afford, ironically enough, because we don't pay the wages City and United do. But even we can compete with Juventus and AC Milan. And I mean, we can compete with these major clubs. But it just seems the Premier League is so big these days, and there's so much money in the Premier League. There's, Joe Rodon can't get the same wages he's on, if he goes back to Swansea. He doesn't want to go back. He'd rather stay at Spurs, see out his contract, get a massive payday, and then, leave on a free. These players don't care about moving on and doing the right thing, but it's the money. I'm sure Joe Rodon wants to keep playing for his national team and all this kind of stuff, but he won't move on. Even Tanganga needs a move for his own, to save his own career, but he probably won't find a club as great as Spurs, with the facilities that we have, with the same wages, and the same with Ndombele and all these guys. It's like we created such a great environment for them to work at, but they don't want to leave it.
Gareth, Roger Ibanez was another player that Spurs are being linked with, but Fabrizio Romano has literally just tweeted that Nottingham Forest have submitted an official bid to Roma for Ibanez, a proposal worth around 25 million euros. Have Spurs missed out here?
Yeah, I don't know who he is. Who does he play for, Chris?
Roma.
I don't know anything about him again.
And also, in the last half an hour, Arsenal have just submitted an opening bid for David Raya to Brentford. The proposal is worth £20 million fixed fee plus £3 million add-ons. David Raya told Brentford that he wants to move, as personal terms are already agreed with Arsenal.
I've seen the Raya one. Again, it's usually the team maybe you're looking at Brentford and thinking we can try and bargain, but as you've seen in the we teams this year, it's not been easy it's not been easy to get players on, because you look at Southampton, for example, they stood firm and were Price, Lavia. They got 40 million for Livermore and Newcastle. You're paying over the odds for a lot of players, Chris, and I do agree that there probably is an inflated market, but it still doesn't justify not spending money. Chris, you're on about the Ibanez there again. I don't really know who he is. Where does he play? Or
he plays as a defender. He's not very good.
No. What position? Sorry, what position?
He's a central defender, if I'm not mistaken. And I spoke to a Roma fan about him, and he said he made 2 critical errors in a derby, which led them to a loss. And
he fit right in. He fit right in.
He's a Spurs player.
He'd be one up on Eric Dyer. Don't worry about that.
No, look, like Melvin makes. Look, I don't agree with Melvin much, but he makes some great points about players at this club. 2 reasons why he's right. There's a massive sort of expectation at this club that just do okay. The bare minimum is just do okay, and you can just walk on next week. See players like Davinson Sanchez who are on massive wages, and Ndomble on massive wages. He's right. They're not going to get attractive offers from anywhere else. They're likely going to be moving to teams somewhere in Europe who are not at the top of their leagues, earning much less money, when they can have a fancy big contract at Spurs, not even kick a ball, turn up at training, and live in London. So he is right there that it's going to take a lot of shifting to get these players out the door. It would be great if Barcelona come in for Sanchez, if Real Madrid come in for Ndomble, but that's just not going to happen. These players are way short of the level required for your top European teams and your top English teams. So we could be stuck with some of these, Chris. Don't be surprised if that window closes and we're stuck with 3 or 4 of these players. And
I'd be surprised.
You'd be surprised?
No.
Oh, you won't be surprised. No, it's going to take a lot to shift these players. Well, it means if a team comes in and offers Ndombele £100,000 a week, they go to say like Galatasaray, we might have to pay the other £100,000 up until he's end his contract just to get him out, because if he's only worth 10 million euros, then and Galatasaray is the only team really with a positive offer for him, it just shows you where he's at and where he's viewed at. So I think we're going to struggle to move some of these players out. But again, Chris, some of these players we're being linked with and we're talking about, it's not inspiring. I want to see proven players come onto the club. You told
me at the start you were optimistic.
I'm optimistic if Ange gets back, as I said at the start of the show. But if Ange was to start the season with what we've got now, I wouldn't be, because he can only do so much on the training pitch. But if he was to get a Van de Ven, I still think we're a midfielder short of top quality. I'm not talking about a world-class midfielder, but I think we're...
Frank Kessie. That's the one we need. Frank Kessie.
Not good enough. Not
it is good enough. He won the league with AC Milan.
Melvin, let me come to you. Melvin, let me come to you on Frank Kessie, because reports yesterday and today, lots of them were stating that he wanted the move to Spurs. He preferred the move to Tottenham to come to the Premier League instead of Juventus or Saudi clubs, and it now looks like he's on the way to Saudi Arabia. Have Spurs missed out on this deal?
Oh yeah, massively. It's no secret my girlfriend is an AC Milan fan, and I watch every single game for the last, the length of our whole relationship. And Frank Kessie, every single time I watched him, I was like, wow, I would take him as Spurs. He's better than what we have. They call him Frank the Tank for a reason. He's good, and he can score goals. He's a really good player. He reminds me of Ndombele, but he's not as good as Moussa Ndombele. But he actually has strength. He actually has stamina, and we missed out 15 million. He's exactly what we think Bissouma is, but Bissouma keeps getting injured, and this guy does it for a whole season. He's a tank, and they won the league that season, and he was vital. I mean, Inter were a much better squad than AC Milan, but AC Milan went into this groove of grinding out results, not conceding any goals. And he was vital in that. And I would be buzzing if we bought him. But I just don't know. He went to Barcelona on a free. And
what did he do?
Yeah, but I think he can do bits for us. I think he'd be good for us. I mean, he was really good in Serie A. And with Barcelona, they took in many players that didn't play because it's different in Spain, and he can. It's very tactical, and the rhythm of the football in Spain is different than other leagues. We see it with players that come to us like Brian Hill. I mean, Brian Hill plays really well in Spain and then comes to us and he can't compete physically. I mean, this guy, we need. I think Postecoglou wants him because he wants Gallagher because he thinks our midfield is still a bit light. We don't have the spine. We need someone. We need players to have strength, power, stamina, and right now I just don't see the spine. I mean, the only player that is like remotely close to that is Hojbjerg, and we're trying to sell him. We're trying to sell, probably other than Bissouma, the most strong person and defensively minded person. Not that last season he was very very good at those things because he was left exposed and he was overplayed and I think I'm right to say he was our third top scorer, Hojbjerg, which is a strange statistic, but.
Melvin, can I ask you about Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg? Because we're going to come on to him. Apparently, Spurs are willing to let him go in this summer transfer window, but they want more than £30 million. In your opinion, how much is Hojbjerg worth?
Listen, if you buy Frank Kessie with the exact same money, or it's an immediate upgrade in my opinion, but Hojbjerg is, I don't know, because it's strange. The player is worth what the club is willing to pay for him. So if they're only willing to pay 15 million, but if Man City come in for him, we can say, oh, we want 50. It's like he's only worth what the club is willing to pay. If they only pay 15 million, then okay, we ask 20. In my opinion, for 15 million, I rather keep Hojbjerg because I don't think we're gonna get. I don't think we're gonna get anyone better than him. I mean, we're being linked with Conor Gallagher, who was great for Crystal Palace, but we don't know what he would do for us. I trust what Postecoglou, sees in a player, and I trust his scouting ability. I mean, he can spot a player. We can see that with Celtic, he did quite a good job with recruiting, in a few seasons. But I mean, we're about to lose Hugo Lloris, Hojbjerg. There's a possibility of Harry Kane, and we don't have Bentancur because he won't be fit enough for 2 months, and we're not sure if he'll be 100% back. That's a lot of players, key core players that got us top 4 under Conte. We're gonna lose 3, 4, 5 core players that we had from that season. That's a lot to take out, right away. But I don't know. It's up to the manager to decide. But personally, I would keep Hojbjerg and sell him next season.
No.
Gareth, let's come to you. Spurs keep being linked with Brennan Johnson from Nottingham Forest. Your thoughts on that?
He'd be a positive signing, in my opinion. He gives us something we haven't got. Apart from maybe Solomon coming in, Johnson. For Chris, I really like this player at Spurs, but he's starting to worry me a wee bit. Kulusevski, he's very predictable. He cuts on his left foot. His decision making at times is very poor. Look, I want to give him a bye ball. I really, really like Kulusevski. There's a lot they like about him, technical ability, but I think he's, don't want to say he's a one-track pony, but he's all left foot. He doesn't give you anything else on that left. So I think Solomon coming on has definitely give Kulusevski competition, but I think Johnson would be a great signing. I really do. I like, you look at Forest last season, he was fantastic. He terrorized teams on the right-hand side. Him and Gibbs-White, for me, single-handedly kept Forest up. Without them two, they'd have been stone last. They were very, very... The only reason Forest stayed up is they scored a lot of goals. They were letting goals in, but I think Johnson it depends on the fee. It wouldn't be going any more than 30 million on him, but he's got a lot of potential. I think Johnson would be It depends. It depends on Chris. If Kane's leaving, then Johnson's not going to be a replacement. But if you're talking about Johnson coming on the add what we've got, I think it's a great option because I think we're short on the left-hand side too. If you look at it, we've got Kulusevski, Son, Solomon, and Harry Kane and Richarlison. I see Richarlison more as a number 9 for me. The problem is with Richarlison, if Kane stays, I don't, especially we've only having 1 game a week, I don't really see how Richarlison fits in other than coming off the bench. If we've only got 1 game a week, Harry Kane plays, I don't think Richarlison's a left-sided player or a right-sided player. You're shoehorning him in. Son's going to play, which we know, and I think with Son this season, we're going to find out if he just had a bad season with injury or if he's in decline. And I do think it's more the latter. I do see a player that's eventually going to slow down. You talk about Harry Kane, he's a very, very technical player. He doesn't rely on his pace. I think with Son, he does rely on his pace. A lot of fans are critical of him for giving the ball away. So if he's not scoring goals and not setting up goals, I think we've probably seen the best of Son, Chris. I'd love to say him. I hope to be proved wrong. So I do think there is room for our attacking players to come on. So Johnson for me be a great signing. I'd like to see him come on for the right fee. But there's bigger areas of the squad for me need addressed. Like Melvin says, I think we need centre backs as soon as possible. And we are a midfielder short. I don't agree with Frank Kessie. I don't see him as better. We should only be bringing players on that are either going to start or compete for a starting spot. I don't think Kessie's better than Basuma. So I don't see how he plays. I think Hojbjerg should be sold for the right price. 30 million, I think you're looking at 35. If you get 35 million, Chris, that's roughly what, isn't it? Fabinho went for 40 million euros to Saudi Arabia. So I think if you got 40 million for him, or 40 million euros, 35 million, say, I think you'd be doing okay. I wouldn't necessarily sell Hojbjerg. I think we've got a lot of players we have to shift out first, but if you're getting 35 million for him, then I would sell, reinvest in a more progressive type, because I think we're only going to play with a Basuma. Ange really believes in Skip, from what I hear, so Skip can be the sort of stand-on number 6. Now, I don't really see, I think Skip, I don't see the sort of hype around Skip, but if Ange believes in Skip, then Skip's going to be your stand-on number 6 if Basuma gets injured. So I would be going for a kind of Bentancur replacement, because he's going to be missing at least Christmas with injury. And if he comes back the same player, there's still a lot of players coming back from ACL and they ain't the same player. So I do think we should be looking at a number 8 kind of, because Madison's your number 10 kind of player. I'm behind Kane. And if Kane was to stay, I think Madison and Kane could be special. I really do. I think Madison and Kane could have you can see already they've got a massive sort of friendship and relationship off the pitch. So imagine what they could be like on the pitch. So I do think priorities in this window are 2 centre backs and sort of like a number 8, a progressive centre midfielder. And if we could get Johnson, people will laugh at Johnson, but I do think Johnson, Spurs have looked at him before. They were linked with him a couple of seasons ago. I do think Johnson has got all the makings of being a very, very good player. But the fact that Solomon's come on, I kind of think that's probably our limit, unless Kane's sold. Will not be signed any more attackers.
It looks like Hojbjerg actually wants out because he wants to be playing Champions League football. He wants to be playing European football, and he wants a new challenge. Do
you know what, Chris? Do you know what? If that's what he thinks, then let him go. He's not going to. I won't miss Hojbjerg. I think he gives 100%. I think he's got leadership qualities in a way, but technically, and what he has to offer with the ball at his feet, I think we could do better. So if he wants to go, let him go. That's. I'm not going to lose too much sleep over. If we can get the right fee in, if we can get 35 million, I would be willing to let him go. But if it's anything less than sort of, maybe in a push to take 30, if it was anything less than 30, I think we should keep him, because we're not going to get an adequate replacement on.
But Gareth, if Basuma's injured, then we're starting Skip all over again.
But do you honestly think that he's going to have 3 number 6s? He's only going to have 1 game a week, so it's either, I think there's room to shift one of them. Basuma's going to be his main man. If Hojbjerg stays, where's Skip going to play? There's no point.
He plays attacking for the national team. I don't know, but it's
he's not going to play for the 40s. I don't see that with Skip. I think he's a number 6 And to be honest, Melvin, I agree. I don't think Skip is going to be a top player at this club. I think he's levels below a team challenging for the top 4, top 5.
I agree with that.
But it seems to be that Ange likes him. So
is that what we are then? Is that what we are? The team challenging for the top 4 or 5?
No, but I think this season we are. What I'm saying is that I think at the moment we can't really look any higher than that. I think this season it's about getting back on the Champions League football and possibly winning a trophy. But in 2 or 3 years' time, no, if things go well, then. But Chris, there'll come a point where, Ange can only do so much. If Ange was to get us the top 4 this season or next season, maybe get us to a couple of cup finals, maybe even win a trophy, then eventually, that will run its course. But I'm just saying that will run its course. You look at Liverpool at the minute, Jurgen Klopp, nobody will argue in this chat or watching the show, he's a world-class manager. They finished 5th last year because he wasn't backed by his owners. Every other team around him strengthened. So Ange can only do so much. He will need help at some stage. So we can talk about all day of what players come on, but unless Levy is going to give Ange what he wants when the time comes, then we're going to be back to square one in 4 or 5 years' time. And that's the difference with Arsenal at the minute. Arsenal are being backed. Arsenal spent 250 million if they sign Ryan this window. That is they spent 200 million last summer. They have backed a manager they believed in, and that's what we have to do as well. We have got to do that at some stage. And I believe Ange, if he earns it on the pitch, then he should be the manager we back. And if he isn't backed, then it does show the true ambition of this club, Chris. It's just about making top 4.
Matt, I completely agree with your comment. Way off top 4 as things stand. Need to be realistic. Completely agree. Craig, I just want to ask you about all of these transfers. We're hearing big transfers day in, day out during this transfer window to players going out to the Saudi League. What do you make of it?
Well, they're going for money, aren't they? But plain and simple. Anybody who comes on camera and says, "Oh, it's always been my dream to play in the Saudi League," obviously a liar. That's all it is. It's all about money. All about money. And to be honest, the players that are at the end of their career, like Henderson, and they go there, you can't blame them. You can't blame them at all if they're being offered that kind of money for 2 or 3 years, can you? Let's face it, we'd all do it. So, but it is a bit of a danger to football when you get players that are perhaps at the peak of their career starting to go over there. I think that's a bit of a worry, and it's going to be a worry for UEFA because that when you get, if you saying you got an Mbappe go over there, that speaks volumes, doesn't it? I mean, apart from the fact you could say, "Oh, Mbappe's only in it for the money." Well, most of them are in it for the money. Most of them don't really give 2 hoots about the club they play for. Got no loyalty. They're just after making a bit of money, doing the same job, and getting paid more money. And would we all do that, doing the same job for millions and millions of pounds more? So it is a bit of a worry to football as a whole. What I would say as regards Spurs, just come back on. He's talking about Kulusevski and wingers.
Hold on, Ray. Hold on. I just wanted to ask you how you think it's going to affect the Premier League in the long run by so many players going out to the Saudi League. Do you think it's going to affect Europe's top leagues?
Not at the moment. No. It might do in the long run. I mean, if it goes the same way as the Chinese Super League, then obviously that died a death, didn't it? But it seems there's a different feeling about it. It seems to be here to stay. But I don't think you have to worry over the next 4 or 5 years. I don't think it's going to compete with the top leagues in Europe. It's just not. Everybody's got their price, and players will continue to go over there when they're paying money. I don't think it's going to affect much because players are going to want to. The top players are going to want to play in. What is that noise? Somebody driving a train or something? That's really loud. Sorry. I don't think it's going to affect the top leagues in Europe. No, I don't. But why we're not going in for players like Michael Olise, who's apparently got a very low release clause. I've championed him for the last couple of years. I think Olise is very, very good player, and these are the sort of player we should be going for. Homegrown, I think he'd do a cracking job on the wing. I think he's a really good player. I don't get why we're going for players like Brendan Johnson. With the greatest respect, I think Olise is a much better player and probably gettable as well. But that's just my opinion.
think Craig, Man City and Chelsea are after Véliz. So I don't think he'll end up at Spurs. But they are player of Palace. I think Eze too. Eze be a good signing too.
Eze was at QPR, we was after him, and we never.
Anyone
never
went to, I would definitely take over Johnson, but I still think Johnson's a good player.
Yeah.
Craig, let me ask you about Harry Kane. It's the last subject we're going to cover on this podcast. Harry Kane, will he be a Spurs player on the opening weekend of the Premier League season? Will he line up for Ange Postecoglou and Tottenham Hotspur in a Spurs shirt against Brentford on the 13th of August, or do you think he's off to Bayern Munich?
God, what a question. Look, I'm gonna end on a bit of positivity. I think Kane is going to stay. I believe Bayern may well come in with another bid, but this has been absolutely crazy, hasn't it? This whole Kane saga with Bayern Munich. I just think Bayern have behaved despicably, and the arrogance from that team and the media in Germany is just astounds me. It really does. It's been embarrassing. You know, that reporter that held up the Kane shirt and just the general way they've behaved is just totally alien to the way we do things in this country. And I think it's just the fact Bayern Munich are so used to walking all over other teams in the Bundesliga and getting exactly what they want. I think it just purely comes down to that. And they're not going to get their own way with Levy. And if they continue to lowball, then Levy's just going to say, nah, thanks for coming for lunch, but no, I ain't selling him for that price. So you hear so many, like everybody, I've read so many Twitter posts, stories, articles about Kane. He wants to go. He wants to talk to Munich. Munich want him. And then that report in Bild the other day that had been slagging him off, basically saying he wouldn't fit into the system. I know you was in your video last night, Chris, where you were talking in depth about that. It just astounds me that this isn't sorted by now, that Levy hasn't kind of put an end to this. I remember when Ronaldo was going to be leaving Old Trafford the first time he was there. And this was rumbling on with Real Madrid for weeks. And it come to a point, I remember Ferguson come out and just said, right, Ronaldo's not for sale. I don't want anything talking about, it's over, it's finished, it's done, he's not going this year. And that was it, that was the end of it. And it's almost like you need that. I'll come back to what I said earlier. The fans need it, Postecoglou needs it, and everybody around the club just need clarity on what's going on with Kane.
Do you think Postecoglou knows what's happening with Harry Kane?
No, I don't. I genuinely don't. What is strange, I remember coming on here and I said, I always get the Spurs calendar for Christmas and I always look to see where our big players are in that calendar. And this is going to sound daft, but Harry Kane was on January. And I remember that rang alarm bells for me because Kane's never been on January. And they tend to put the players that are going to be moving on or they think might move on in the summer, obviously in the first 6 months of the year, because you don't want a player that's coming up in December. So I always look out for that, and that rang alarm bells for me. And it's just, it's just, I don't think anybody knows. I'm not even sure Kane knows what's going on. And that's the bad thing.
The question is, Craig, do Spurs accept an offer of 80 to 85 million pounds now, take the money, let Kane go, or let him leave on a free transfer next summer?
Well, I'd personally, I'd rather keep Kane for another year, as I think there's a lot more options open then. And as we said many times, he might sign a new contract. He might like what he sees, sign a new contract. You might lose him on a free, but I think we stand more chance of finishing higher end the table with Harry Kane in the team than not. And I think Michael Bridge said it brilliantly on Sky Sports earlier, really tickled me. He said, when we sold Gareth Bale, everybody thought we bought in the 7 players, and he thought I think the words he used was swapping Elvis for the Beatles, and it was more like Shawaddy was what he said, is what came in through the door. And that's spot on, because I don't trust Tottenham to spend £85 million. I'm not even sure they would, by the way. But I don't trust them to spend £85 million on the right players, because history tells us that we're not very good at it. Van
der Ven and Tapsoba.
Well, they should be coming in regardless, Chris, whether we get rid of Kane or not.
I know.
That is how big clubs. Yeah, totally. But it shouldn't even be a discussion, should it? We should be bringing in Tapsoba and Van der Ven, and if you're a Conor Gallagher fan, if you're a James Ward-Prowse fan, if Michael Elise fan, you've got to be bringing these players in regardless, because we need a rebuild. Daniel Levy's not going to finish higher up the table if we don't get better players through the door. That's as simple as that. And if you're getting rid of your talisman, England captain, future Tottenham captain, club record goal scorer, England record goal scorer, if you're getting rid of him, you're not going to replace Harry Kane, because there's nobody like Harry Kane. He's a one-off. You've got to spend money in that area, unfortunately. You can't get away with bringing in a kid from Argentina or the South American League, or replacing with two youngsters. Yeah, build for the future, absolutely, in the background, but it should be in addition to getting the players in through the door that are proven, solid players that would improve your squad. And I don't trust this club to spend 85, 90 million pounds of Kane money if he goes. So that, for that reason alone, I want to keep him. But in answer to your question, I'm going to finish on positive, and I'm going to say yes. And I would prefer that the deadline, I know it's a Kane imposed deadline, but if he starts against Shakhtar on Sunday, that speaks volumes to me. If he's not in the team, in the squad or whatever, and some excuse comes out about him having a knock or one, that's when I will be really concerned, because I was a bit concerned they cancelled the press conference. I'm not having it that there's not there wasn't enough interest from reporters to have a press conference. I don't believe that for 1 second. There's drama. There's tons of things going on at Tottenham at the moment. They would have filled that press room up. I just don't understand that at all. So unless something's going on in the background that we don't know about, it stinks a bit, that to me. But hey, we'll see. Let's see what the team is Sunday.
Melvin, will Harry Kane be a Spurs player against Brentford?
I don't know. I think I wake up every morning with a different answer to that question. I think this morning I woke up and I said, yes, we'll keep him. But I think it's a win-win either way, because if we keep him, we keep one of the best strikers in the Premier League. We get to see him play for another 38 games, and a few cup games here and there, and maybe he'll get closer to that Alan Shearer record. But if he leaves, I don't think it's the end of the world. I think you take the money and you invest it in an Ivan Toney who's in his early 20s, and you move on. We lost Gareth Bale, we lost Luka Modric before, and I don't think we're a one-man team. Even though probably last season, if we didn't have Harry Kane, we probably would have been close to relegation. But yeah, I think this season there's things to be positive about. Richarlison, I think, fits the Ange system, and yes, he was unlucky last season with injuries, and he was distracted by the World Cup, and he had Conte, scolding him for 2 hours, and I think he'll be a really, really good player for us this season. But I'm just excited either way. If we keep Kane, it's brilliant, because we get to see him play in an attacking system and under an attacking manager. And if he leaves and we get 80 million, 90 million, 100 million, whatever makes Levy happy. And I just see positives either way. We'll take that money and we'll invest it in a good striker, and we move on. It's not the end of the world. We still have amazing players at the club, and we always will. And we'll probably be lucky and find a new Harry Kane somewhere else. And because we always do, we always have gems at this football club. Someone told me the other day, he said, it's amazing how many absolutely world-class players Spurs had over the years, but we just haven't seen to get it over the line. We've had amazing players: Modric, Bale, Van der Vaart, Berbatov, Carrick. We've had so many amazing players, but I think we're finally at a stage where we can keep the players for a long, long time. And unfortunately, if Kane wants to leave, and I think he's 50-50 about it. I think the pressure is coming more from his brother rather than him. I think as time goes on, he'll be more convinced by Ange and by the way he speaks. And if we buy these defenders and they slot in and we do well and we start well, I think by August, by the end of August, maybe he'll sign. I know it's dreamland, but there's always a chance. There's always a chance with these things. You never know. You absolutely never know. And I really hope he does stay. But like I said, it's positives all around. If we keep him, we keep the Premier League's best striker, in my opinion. And if he leaves and we get 80 million to invest into the squad, that's also a positive thing. Just look at, again, an example. AC Milan sold Sandro Tonali, their best midfielder, and they were gutted when he left. But they bought in 8 players, and they're arguably a lot better now. They brought in, players with experience in Champions League and Europa League football, and they're a lot better now. They have a better squad, and again, like I said, it's just positives all around. If he leaves, he leaves. If we keep him, we keep him. And it shouldn't be a big deal. It shouldn't be this. It's not like Spurs are going to end and we're going to finish and we're gonna die and we're gonna hate the football and we're never gonna score a goal again. It's not the end of the world. We'll move on. Spurs is a football club. We could possibly somehow be even better under Richarlison. Possibly. You never know these things. You never know until it happens. And it's football. There's so many uncertainties in football, and who knows what's going to happen. No one knows what's going to happen. No one knows if next season, you never know what's going to happen. It's just why we do these podcasts and we talk these long format videos, because there's so much to talk about and discuss. And I'm sure we've said some ridiculous things in the past, and sometimes they come true and sometimes they don't. I mean, me and Gareth don't always have the same opinions, but sometimes, what he says comes through and sometimes what I say comes through. Who knows? It's just I'm really excited for the season. And one thing we didn't mention, it's how the atmosphere is going to be under Ange Postecoglou this season, because a Man United fan messaged me this week and he said there's a lot of negativity around the club for some reason, and you guys should be more excited about the new season, and we should really get behind the manager, because I honestly can't wait. And I booked the closest game I can possibly get to, which is in September against Liverpool. I can't wait to be in that stadium again and hear it to its full potential again. It was so bad under Conte, the atmosphere, and we missed, through COVID and all of that. I keep thinking of the years we spent watching the games from home and not being able to attend the games. And I'm so excited because we get to see an attacking side at the Lane, under our incredible stadium. And I'm hoping that Ange can really get the fans buzzing again. And there's a massive atmosphere again, like it used to be under White Hart Lane. I mean, the away fans last season stepped it up. And I really hope this season the home fans can step it up and we have the same atmosphere we did at the away games. It just seems the away games had a better atmosphere than the home games sometimes. And I really wish this season, we really step it up, because it's something we can do. I mean, I know we do the tifo and the flags, and you hear things about the new drum. It's like, okay, but I really want the fans to really step it up this season and create the atmosphere that White Hart Lane used to have, in the last season of the Lane. You can hear it through the TV, you could hear every single chant through the TV back then, and you can hear it go absolutely nuts when we scored. And I just want to get back to that kind of Spurs, when we score, everyone going absolutely crazy and lots of noise at the stadium and having it really hostile and not making it easy for opposition to come to our stadium and play us off the pitch. And you know what I mean? I really want to get back to that kind of Spurs, and it's really what I'm looking forward to most. And I think we could get back to that kind of atmosphere at the stadium if we see those kind of games where it ends 4-2, 4-3, those classic games where Berbatov scored 4 goals. Do you remember that game? You're probably there, and I was at home getting text messages from my brother telling us it's 6-4. Was it that match?
Yeah.
Berbatov scored. I just want to get back to that kind of football where it's so exciting and and I'm like counting the days. The second the match is over, I'm counting the days for the next match. Under Conte, I absolutely hated us, and I couldn't wait for the season to be over. And now I'm the opposite. I'm just buzzing for the new season.
Melvin, you spoke about Harry Kane's brother there.
Yeah.
Of course, that's his agent. If Harry Kane was your brother, what would you be advising him to do?
Honestly, I would tell him not to mess up his legacy, because I think when he retires, yeah, people will talk about trophies and stuff like that, but I think he already tainted his Spurs legacy when he did the Gary Neville interview and when he said those words, because he was, up till then, he was absolutely perfect. Yes, he's ambitious, but you have to respect the club and you have to respect the fans. And the way he did that to us, in a way, I haven't forgotten about that. Yes, he scores goals for us, and it's good when he scores, and we love it. But I still haven't forgotten that he tried to leave Spurs to go to City the way he did. He was still contracted to the club, and I just think his brother is pushing for a move, because he's as an agent, he has only one client, and he gets ridiculed by Tottenham fans and the media, and I just think even his brother's trying to prove to the world that he's a good agent, and he's trying to get him a move.
If Harry Kane was your brother, would you be telling him to move away from Spurs?
No. I would say no. Stay at Spurs, break the record, and you wouldn't want to live your life and say, "What if I stayed with Postecoglou? What if we win a trophy and Kane left? How stupid would he look?" I know it's a long shot. I know it's a long shot, but
he would have probably won 3 trophies by then.
Yeah, but I mean, Gerrard said to him that 1 trophy at Spurs would mean a lot more than winning with Bayern Munich. I mean, I'd rather play for West Ham than play for Bayern Munich.
I agree. But like Harry Kane said on that Gary Neville interview, if Spurs are not matching his ambition and they're not going in the right direction, then he may look to leave. I think that is a very, very fair thing to say. And that is why I'm worried about this window again, under another head coach. Are we going in the right direction? Have we done enough in this window? I know the window isn't over. And, I want to add that for balance. I'm not judging the window yet, but our first Premier League game is only 10 days away. Are we matching Harry Kane's ambition? He's up front last season, scoring 30 goals in 38 Premier League games in a struggling team. He is doing his absolute best. Can't do any more. It's like having 2 players in the team when you've got Harry Kane. You've got that creative spark and you've got the finisher as well. And are we matching his ambition to want to win trophies, to go after trophies and play in the biggest competitions? We're not.
Honestly, yeah, you can't argue with that, because if we would have bought all these signings that we wanted. We would have bought them early. We would have bought all of them, not just one. Not just if we're going to buy one or the other. It would have been both. Yeah, I agree with that point where you say we're not matching his ambition, because we would have bought, for example, Raya straight away, 40 million. Here you go. We would have bought every single player that was on top of the list, and we would have done it right away. But I don't think we're that kind of club, and Kane by saying that, I don't know. It's we're not that kind of club. We don't overspend. We don't spend. It's just the way Levy operates, sadly. And unless we change ownership, which is a whole different debate, I don't see us becoming that kind of club. And I just choose to accept it. It's easier that way. I don't know. I just choose to accept that we will never be that club where we buy Declan Rice, for example. We won't spend 120 million or whatever they spent and be that club. Certainly until we move on, the 11 players that we still have contracted to the club that we want to move on. I mean, we're operating this window with one hand tied behind our back, and we're trying to say that we want to be ambitious. I mean, we still have how many 36 players contracted to the club. I mean, we talk about Arsenal, they're ahead of us. They moved on Willian, Aubameyang, and they still have Nicolas Pepe, and they're years ahead of us in terms of they started their rebuild and they took losses on the players that they didn't want. And we still haven't done that. We moved on We moved on Harry Winks. And we still have, to take losses of all these players. And until we move them on, we're still operating with like one hand tied behind our back. And we won't see the stadium, the full strength of the stadium until we move on all this deadwood and we can operate finally as a proper football club. Because I don't know why you're laughing, Gareth.
No.
Gareth, let's come to you. Harry Kane. Will Harry Kane be a Spurs player on the opening weekend of the Premier League season? Yes or no?
Oh, well, okay, I really hope so. I was laughing because Melvin mentioned Spurs beating Reading 6-4 in 2007. I don't know what that's got to do with Harry Kane being a Spurs player this summer, but look, no.
You've all gone off topic when I've asked you questions.
Exciting football. I want to see exciting football again, and that's what reminds me of exciting football. Those kind of games.
We let on 4 goals against Reading too, but look, no, I think the writing's on the wall. I think Harry Kane stays. I think the fact that Bayern had that. Look at these Real Madrids and Barcelona's. They control the papers in Spain. Bayern Munich control the papers in Germany. I think that report was put out there. And I think they're starting to feel less confident about getting Kane. And that report's out there. They maybe appease Bayern Munich fans that they haven't missed out on Harry Kane if he stays at Spurs. I think the fact that we're hearing these reports now, we haven't heard anything all summer. I think the fact we're hearing that Kane is going to stay at Spurs if he plays against Brentford. So I think unless something was to drastically change this week, we're hearing that there's a 25 million difference in valuation. Chris, that's quite a lot of money. I think Bayern are out there.
It's pretty simple though, Gareth, isn't it? Bayern Munich could just say, here is the money you require.
I don't think they'll do it though, Chris. I really don't. I don't see them paying 100 million for Kane. I think that's what Spurs want. I think they might take 90 plus maybe 10 million add-ons. Now I'm talking sterling, not euros. I think the highest they've got to is 95 million euros. A lot of the money involved in that was add-ons. So look, I think there's a lot for Bayern Munich to do to convince Spurs. I think the fact they came to London, they flew back, no agreement. Kane, then we heard within 24 hours that Kane was going to be staying if there's no deal done by Brentford. So I get the feeling he's going to stay now. I really do. Me and Craig were speaking during the week. I felt like on Monday he was going, and then by Tuesday or Wednesday I thought he's going to stay. It's gone very, very quiet, Chris, since that meeting on Monday. We're on the Friday now coming up. I get the feeling I don't foresee a situation next Thursday or Friday where he leaves on the eve of a game. I think if it's going to happen, it's going to happen within the next 3 or 4 days. And I get the feeling from Kane's side that the fact he's thinking, I'm going to stay if nothing's done by Brentford. That's a kind of push to Bayern Munich. If you want me, come get me now. And I get the feeling from Harry Kane's side that he feels that he's going to be here past next week, and he would rather put a lot on it. And Chris, let's be honest, Harry Kane's in a very strong position here. He's been at Spurs for all his career, but in the last sort of 7-8 seasons, he's been an ever-present. One more season at Spurs isn't going to do him any harm. If he was to score another 30 goals, you think about the many a team next year is going to be queuing up for Kane. Now, the only thing we can hope for is that Spurs turn a massive corner. And there has to be some sort of preliminary conversation, Chris, that Kane has got to have named these terms on what he sees as progression. Because obviously, unless we already won, we can't win a trophy until February this season. We can't win a trophy to the end of February. So you're end of February, March, you're looking at, 3-4 months after his contract. So his progression's got to be that we're playing good football, showing signs that within 2 or 3 years we can be competitive at the top of the table and pushing the won trophies. I don't think we have to win something, by February for him to stay. I think he's more looking at it in terms of if we're doing well this season and if we're showing signs of progression. Much to like that first season, we were decent. We finished 5th. you could see the signs were there. Then we finished third, then second. So I do think it's more of a footballing point of view. Are we playing good football? Are players improving? And is the environment happy? Because in the last 4 years, Chris, the environment's not been happy. We've had Conte and Nuno, and players haven't enjoyed it. So I think it's got to do that. So if Kane's happy and the team's happy, and we're pushing for trophies, then I think there's a chance he might sign that contract. But if not, then we're going to have a big problem next summer. But unless the money's right, Chris, unless it's going to be 90, 100 million, I don't really see any value in selling it for 70, 75 million. I don't see it.
Is there anything that we haven't discussed during this podcast that you'd like to bring up, Craig?
No, I don't think so. I think the only thing I'd say about Ange is I think he's handled everything really well so far. He's had a lot thrown at him. It hasn't been the best starts for him. It's certainly not the script you'd write. But in press conferences, he's been good. The main, obviously, dominating thing is the Kane thing. He's had to deal with that. I still think, like I said earlier, the press conference cancelling, something's not quite right there for me. But for going back to Kane very quickly, I've never understood the desire to leave this season. I don't get what the rush is to leave to go to Bayern when you've got the world's your oyster this time next year. I don't get it. I don't get why. I put a little poll out and it was overwhelmingly, would you rather win a Bundesliga or beat Shearer's record? And it was 75% said beat Shearer's record. All right, majority of those people are going to be Tottenham fans, but I would personally choose that as well. I don't think winning the Bundesliga, with the greatest respect to the Germans and the German league, I don't think winning a Bundesliga is going to give him the kudos he perhaps wants. And just to say he's won a Bundesliga, yes, he could win the Champions League, but personally, I think Man City are going to be pushing to win that again with the squads they're building. Now they've got over the line with that. So I just don't get why Kane would want to leave this year. I don't get what the rush is. I really don't, unless it's about money for the club, which we'd never know. But then again, if it was all about money, then Levy would have perhaps sold him already and taken what he could. So let's see what happens. I'm still hopeful that he does stay. But yeah, let's wait and see.
Melvin, anything else you'd like to say?
No, not really. No, I don't know. You didn't mention the owner, Joe Lewis, or anything about that. Not that it's a topic.
He's not the owner.
Ex-owner.
Right, ex-owner. Right. Is there going to be? Sorry,
it's the Joe Lewis Trust.
Yeah.
You want to talk about ex-owners? You want to talk about Alan Sugar as well?
No, I don't know. You were saying if there's any topics we didn't discuss, and that's the only thing that came to my mind. But yeah, I think we covered all of it in the past 2 hours.
Gareth?
Yeah.
I know if you mentioned it, Chris, I might put a business plan forward to Alan Sugar of how to reinvent Tottenham Hotspur and go on the Apprentice next summer, maybe.
Good grief. Craig, thanks so much for joining us this evening. Where can people find you and what you're up to?
Just looking forward to the season to start and going to the Shakhtar game on Sunday. If you want to follow me, I'm on @Demon9 on Twitter. And to the chap who said he saw me over Brentwood the other week at a football presentation, should have come over and said hello. But yeah, I was there. My son plays for that team. So yeah, lovely to be back. Lovely to be on. I'm sure Chris will be not as jet lagged and as tired as he has been over the last week, because I know he's been doing a fair bit of travelling, as everybody knows. So I would imagine it takes it out of you. So yeah, happier times to come. Let's think positive. I think we're going to see some wonderful football under Postecoglou. Kaneless or Kane in the team. I think it's going to be good. Really looking forward to it. And you've got to believe that the glory days are going to come back to Tottenham, because football goes in cycles, and we've had our dip, and I think we're on our way back now.
Craig, you trying to say that I'm tired and grumpy today?
Yeah, grumpy old man. No, it's going to take it out of you, that trip, Chris, isn't it? I mean, I bet your body clock's still knackered, isn't it? Yeah. I'll
tell you what, though. Let me just say this opportunity now. Everybody in Australia, Thailand and Singapore. The amount of people that came up to me and said that they enjoy these podcasts, probably not tonight's one, but the podcast and all of the content that I put out. So thank you so much to everybody, giving me positive feedback. While we go to Melvin and Gareth, for those of you who are watching on YouTube, please do let me know where you're watching this from, and we'll put as many on the screen as possible, because the podcast numbers have been absolutely unreal, and we've been in the top 10 in many, many countries around the world. So please do let me know where you're watching from. Melvin, let's come to you. Thanks so much for joining us again this evening. Love your optimism. Where can people find you and what you're up to at the moment?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter. You can follow me there. I'm quite active, and I'm not doing much. I'm here in Malta. I'm looking forward to coming over to see Spurs this season. Probably the first game will be Liverpool, and just excited for the new season and to see some football again, because even though it's only been a couple of months that we've been away from the Premier League, you start to miss it, and once August rolls in, you just want to get that first game and first victory in and get the season going. So yeah, I'm excited.
Gareth, thanks so much for joining us again. What are you up to at the moment? Of course, you are the host of the 12th Man podcast. Any new additions coming out?
We've got an Arsenal fan on tomorrow, so we're going to be talking about tomorrow night at 6 p.m. We're going to be talking about season expectations. We're going to be looking at the Harry Kane transfer saga. We're going to be looking at Man City versus Arsenal in the Community Shield this weekend, how much of an impact that can have in your season. And we're going to preview all the top sixes, expectations, and possibilities this season. So that'll be quite good tomorrow. It's a singer I know he's from Derry, but he lives in Liverpool. I'm actually going out to Liverpool next weekend for a friend's birthday party. So after that, then I'm going to watch Spurs play Sheffield United, when I hope they see Ange Ball in full swing after 4 or 5 games. And like Craig, I'm very, very positive if we can get a couple of centre-backs on this season. I really do think it could be a very good season for us. I'm excited to see us play attacking football. So, and I really do believe Harry Kane stays, and I think Kane's going to have a good season, whether he signs or not. We'll have to remain to be seen. But lots to look forward to, Chris. We're 10 days away from playing Brentford away. And you know what, I feel very, very positive about the Brentford game. I think Brentford's had a tough summer. The fact that even Tony's not playing for them for the first half of the season is going to have an impact. And I think it's a decent game to start with. And I think we're going to go there, and maybe we might have a different view after that, Chris. But just like some of the comments here and what Craig was echoing, thanks for your content over the summer. No football on, so it's always very tough to keep it going. I can see you're very... as Craig says, the journeys you've had over the summer. But look, we go again now next Sunday. I'm looking forward to watching the Shakhtar game on Sunday on the TV. And from next Sunday on, we go again, Chris. I think it's all about getting behind Ange Postecoglou now. Whatever happens in the transfer window happens, but let's get behind this man. There's lots they like about him. And as Craig said, he spoke very, very well. And I get that feeling that regardless of what happens off the pitch and in the boardroom, we've got a manager now that's going to represent the values of the club. So come on, you Spurs.
Gareth, Melvin and Craig, thanks so much for joining me this evening, and thanks for watching everybody on YouTube. If you don't subscribe to the channel as yet, please do hit that subscribe button, like, share and comment below. And if you are listening to this on an audio platform, please do hit that follow button and leave a review if you can. We will see you again after the Shakhtar Donetsk game, where I'll be live from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium at around 4:15. I will see you there. Let's hope for a good performance, a good result, and we go away from that stadium smiling again. We will see you on the next one. Until then, come on, you Spurs.